sent an announcement, but I'll also put up this poster to remind you that there is this shadowing opportunity. If you want to sort of start to get ready for a career and follow somebody around, make a good contact, see if this is the type of work you want to do. That can happen over winter or in the early spring. And our contact about that is Professor Redmond. I emailed Professor Redmond. He knows a bit more. I know sort of nothing. Where are you from? Where? In Maryland. Near Baltimore? Okay, I know we might be able to find, this system's probably not set up for that, but if you ask around, we might be able to work something out. I know a lot of people in Baltimore, a lot of former students in Baltimore, but that area, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but talk to McCooey. McCooey knows everybody everywhere. We'll see what we can do. And then there's a possibility of this to be in early spring. So if you have, like, if you've done your schedule, if you have a day off, like a Friday or something like that, you might be able to arrange an early spring thing, sort of this officially. But we might also be able to set up something back in Maryland for you. It's worth asking. All right, and my second reminder is that registration started. The seniors went today. Things starting to fill up, but nothing's, I didn't see anything that's completely full, at least in our major. Okay, so that is it on the reminder side. This is lab 15. I'm going to do a media player, just some sort of fun interfacey things today. I'm going to play with a media player and a timer. This is probably the end of the material. Somewhere like this is probably the cutoff for test 2. It's either this or I'll cut it off even sooner. So we need, it won't be next week, but maybe the following week. I'll want to give an exam. And so you should start telling me if you have other exams in major classes. By major classes, I mean IT classes, computer science classes. I might be able to live with math, I don't know. But not your history and your philosophy. I can't deal with too many different things. So let me know what's coming up in your lives so I can try not to give you 2 tests on the same day. And if it's just one person with a problem, then I might deal out with that one person. Okay. So that's that. So we talked about the test, registration, shadowing. Before I start new stuff, are there any questions on old stuff? Or like up here, things I can answer up here on the recording? Okay, so let's start the new stuff. So I'm going to start an Android Studio. And I'm going to bring down this Animal Sounds Media Player file. Okay, close that. Minimize that. And I'm going to open these in Notepad. I'm going to start a new project, empty activity next. I'll call it a demo N28B. And I have to remember to turn 31s to 30s. That's easy for me to forget to do. And then also copy this stuff over. And there's also some raw files. So I have some MP3, some sound files that I have to put in. I have to make a raw folder and then put them in the raw folder. Okay. So let's first, before I forget, let's do, I'm in the lab, so I have to make 31s, 30s and resync. And then I'm going to take the activity main, Control A, Control C, go to the resources, go to the layout, activity main, code, and paste it in there, Control V. Okay. And then I want, also under resources, I'm going to right click, say new, I want a new directory, and it should be raw with a small r. And now I have a raw directory, and I'm going to copy these, the cat, the chicken, and the cow. And I'm going to paste those here into the raw. And then I need to do the main activity. So the main activity, close that, the main activity, copy everything but the package. Paste everything with the package. And let's see if this sucker will run. So this is a media player. So the phone has a media player. So, or hopefully the phone has a media player. And then your app can tap into that media player and then play a media file, in this case, a sound file. So here is my app. I have a cat sound, a chicken sound, and a cow sound. I'm going to hit the cat sound. Okay. And the volume on the phone, on the emulated phone, is here. So I had to adjust it, and it was too soft in the morning, but I put it up, and so now I don't need to adjust it, but that's where you adjust it. And the cat button will be disabled when I click it, and so it will I think turn a different color and say something different, and then when the cat is done meowing, it will re-enable. So it's gray and it says plain cat sound. And then when the cat is done, it goes back to play cat sound and is that like purpley color again. Okay. I did not disable for the chicken. So if I click it once, it's the same, the chicken sound. But since I did not disable the button, a user can click it more than once and get 2 media players with 2 chicken audio files playing. So chicken and chicken again. So that was 2, and that's for part of that time, there were 2 media players, both playing the chicken. So I can have a whole farm of animals, chickens and cows. Okay, so that's fun. Let's look at the code. Okay, so the big thing we saw, we had the raw resources and the MP3s, and I sold them from soundbible.com. Well, they were free. I think SoundBible gives you some free things. Okay. Here's my usual connect to the interface. So I had a cat button, a chicken button, and a cow button. When this is the handler of my cat button click event, and I establish a media player that is going to play the cat raw resource. And then I'm going to start the media player. If you don't start the media player, it doesn't start. So it's not, this is not what plays the sound. This is what sets up to play the sound. And then this is what plays the sound. And then I switched the text to playing the cat sound. And I disable the button. So I set the is enable property to false. And then the media player has a method that is executed when the media player is done playing the file. So when the completion, it's going to listen for the completion of the media file. And so when that happens, when the media player sort of recognizes that it's done playing the file, I'm going to change the button text back to play cat sound, and I'm going to re-enable the button so they can play the cat sound again. For the chicken, I just did the media player and the start. That's what allowed me, since I wasn't disabling the button, I could get multiple chickens. And same thing for the cow. Okay. So that is a media player. So you've got the media player. I did more work up here on the cat in that I said, what do I want to do when the media player stops? And I also made sure that the button that was controlling the media player was disabled so that there was only ever one cat at a time. Okay, so that was that. That's the media player example. Any questions? I'm going to go next and look at a timer, and there are going to be some similarities. This will seem like a random day, but there'll be some similarities in working with a timer, what's called a countdown timer, similar to the media player. And that is, there's going to be a sort of a start. Nothing's going to happen without a start. The timer will have a similar property. And there'll also be this sort of what happens when the timer's done. So we'll have some similar notions in our next example. So let's move to that. Don't need the cat, the chicken, and the cow anymore. Where am I now? Now I'm going to use a counter to roll a die. So do a simulation of rolling a die, and this time it's going to involve a counter. So let me download that, extract that, and I have activity main and main activity that I'm going to open a notepad, close the old one, and then I have these 6 die images, and I'm going to copy them and put them in the drawable. So I pasted the die images into drawable. There they are. And now I'm going to do activity main. There's an image, which is going to be a picture of a die, and a button that's going to roll the die. So copying that, I'm going to my activity main. I'm going to paste that in there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the main activity. And then the main activity is this timer code. I'm going to copy everything but the package. I'm going to paste everything but the package. And I'm going to roll this die. And so I have this, I'm going to simulate the rolling of a die. And so it's possible that the person had a value that they rolled the die one time and they got a value, let's say a 5. And it's possible the next time they roll a value that they also get another 5. And that And that can happen. That happens in this case 1/6 at a time if you have a proper pseudo-random number generator. But it gives the user sort of a dissatisfied feeling that maybe the button wasn't pressed because nothing changed. But what we're going to do is change the value of the die randomly for a certain amount of time, and then stop it, so that it's going to, well, instead of me describing it, let me click the button. So there it is. So it's different value, different value, different value, and then it stops on a value, and that will be my final value. So I just rolled a 1, and now I've just rolled a 3. But if the user gets the sense of it changing, so it does, you never have that dissatisfying feeling that they click the button and nothing's happened. Because to have, that was, I guess, of the order of like 20 different values in there, and the probability that if I rolled the dice 20 times and it was the same all the time is very, very, very low. So if I just do it if I just change the die once, that unsatisfying feeling occurs a 1/6 of the time, which is fairly often, early enough to be annoying. But if I'm going to do that 20 times, that's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to be the same 20 times in a row, unless something seriously is wrong. Okay, so timers. Let's look at the code. We've seen it's an image view and a button, so there's nothing to the design. We know the images are in the drawable. Okay. I declared a class level variable. I imagine I'm playing some game in which I care about the outcome of a roll of the die. If I make a variable for the die at the class level, then it's known even beyond onCreate. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to do anything other than onCreate, but this value will exist beyond onCreate. So if I were playing a game on my phone and then somebody called me and I answered the phone and then I come back, because this is declared globally, it will still be known because this has an existence beyond onCreate. Okay. Now we go into the onCreate. There's a button roll, there's the image view. So here's the button, here's the image view. Here's the button click handler. I am disabling the button. I'm setting its is enabled property to false so that we're not getting multiple, so the person can't click the button. Like we had with the media player, and not the cat example, but the cows and the chickens, if you're not careful and allow them to click the button twice, you're going to end up with multiple timers, which is not a good situation. So we are disabling the button so that the user can't click it again and give rise to multiple timers. There's only going to be this one timer. Okay, take a little bit more room. Over here, okay. Now here's the timer. They have a thing called a countDownTimer. It has 2 parameters. The first one I'm going to refer to as the lifetime. This is how long the timer is going to be around. And it will be, it's in milliseconds. So that's why it says millis in the future. And so this is 2,000 milliseconds. So this timer is going to be around for 2,000 milliseconds or 2 seconds. So let's go here. I'm going to click the button and it's 1,001, 1,002. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. So it is about 2 seconds. Okay. Then this second parameter is, so there's a repeating part and then there's like a one shot thing. So the one shot says how long is it going to last, and then this is the second one is how much time goes by before I have a repeating part, and what is the interval then I go through before I start repeating myself again, going through the repeating part. And that is 100 milliseconds, or every 10th of a second. So this is repeating itself every 100 milliseconds. It's going for 2000 milliseconds. So that's why I said earlier that this changes about 20 times. I'm not fast enough to count that, so sorry. But the computer is. So, okay. So that's the timer. Now we're going to have two methods for this timer. The onTick is the repeating stuff, and the onFinish is what you do when you're done. We've had these methods before with multiple methods. My spinners, you know I love my spinners, has these two events. The seek bar had 3 events. The text change of an input had three methods. This has got 2 methods. You don't necessarily have to write code for both methods, but you must have both methods. Okay. So the first method is the repeating one, and that's the onTick, like the tick of a clock. So clocks, there's tick, 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 tick. There's time, 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 time. And then the second one is called onFinish. So obviously when it's done. So what do I want to do as it's ticking? I want to roll the die, get a new random number, and change the picture. Okay. So I just decided to do this in a particular way. I made way up here, if you recall, I made a global variable that's going to hold the variable of the die, and that will have a very long life. That will have a life even if I pause my app. Down here, I'm making a variable called die within the timer. So it's not within onTick, but it's in the timer. So this variable is going to exist for the lifetime of the timer, and then it will disappear. So that is the scope and the lifetime of this variable. While the timer exists, there'll be a variable called die, and I'm starting off at 0. And by putting it here, it will be accessible to both the onTick and the finish. I could get away without this, but it's just a particular way I chose to do it in this case. So this die is accessible to the tick and accessible to the onFinish. So here's me. Sometimes I do it the Java way. Sometimes I do it the Kotlin way. This is the Kotlin way. I'm getting a random number between 1 and 6. And then I am concatenating that number onto die. I could also do this, die plus die. That also works, no $sign then. So that die plus die is a way to concatenate, but you can also concatenate this way. So just 2 different ways to concatenate. Okay. But sometimes this one doesn't work. So I'll show you in the next example a situation where the $sign approach doesn't work. So it's good to know both. So I'm constructing the name of the resource, the drawable resource. We saw that they were named die 1, die 2, die 3. We are respecting our resource naming scheme, that it's all small letters and numbers. I could have underscores, but I don't in this case. So I made a name. I'm looking for it in drawable. I get an ID. Then I use that ID to set the image resource of my image view. And this is in the onTick, so I'm doing that repeatedly. So you see that repeating there. onFinish is when 2 seconds has gone by. I am taking my global, my die, and taking that local die value and putting it in that global variable. So this is me remembering the local thing as a global thing, so then I can use it later. I'm toasting it out. I don't know, because I am, and I'm enabling the button so that you can roll again. And if I don't start my timer, nothing happens. If I don't start my media player, nothing happens. If I don't start my timer, nothing happens. So again, a timer, it's called a countdown timer. It's got 2 parameters. How long is it going to be around? How often, how much time between repeats? This is known as the period. And we've got the repeating part and the when I'm done part. Sometimes you won't have code here. Sometimes you won't have code there. Sometimes you only want to do things once when it's done. Sometimes you want to do a lot of repeating things and you don't necessarily have anything to do when it's done. It just stops. So that depends on the situation. Okay. Any questions? So that was a countdown timer. And all I'm going to do is have 5 dice. I'm going to go back to the idea that we had in a homework of a Yahtzee roll, which is 5 dice. And that will be my next example. So go away and here's the first roll of Yahtzee with a timer. And extract. I already have the dice in there, but I'm going to grab the activity main and the main activity. That goes, here's activity main, Control A, Control C, activity main, and Control V, paste that in there. I have now a linear layout that has 5 dice. I started at 0, IV die 1, IV die 2, up to 4. And then I have a button to make them roll. So that's my layout. And then here is my code. All the package, main activity, all the package. And let's stop it and start it. It should be the same except 5 dice. So roll 5 dice. There it is. About 2 seconds, and we start. And I have a 1, a 5, a 4, a 6, and a 4. Okay. So here we go. I replaced my global single variable with an array. And I made it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I connect the interface to the button. I have the button click handler. I disable a button. That's all the same. I have a timer. It has the 2 times, the lifetime, 2 seconds or 2000 milliseconds, and the amount of time between the repetitions, and that is the interval, and that was 100 milliseconds or a tenth of a second. Here's my repeating part. I'm looping through from 0 to 4. I am making, I'm using resource get identifier to grab a widget from ID. And then I'm grabbing from using that ID, I'm getting the widget, find view by ID. I'm getting a random number between 1 and 6. I'm concatenating that. If I tried the $sign trick, that didn't work here. So I had to use a more old-fashioned concatenate. And I'm going from the resource name and looking it up in Drawable and then using that ID to set the resource of the image view. And I wanted to show this because I gave that as a homework, but I was very open to how people did it. So some people did it by having five individual image views and sort of treating each one sort of separately. And so they wrote the code, pretty much the same code, over 5 times and didn't attempt to sort of use a loop or anything. And that was sort of acceptable at that time. I had taught you ways that you could do it better, and some people did and some people didn't. But now I just wanted to come back, swing back around and show you explicitly that it could be done this way. Okay, so that is the repeating part. And again, just looping. And I can loop around and grab a widget and also get a random number. And I'm doing this twice, this get identifier twice, once with IDs. So that's going over to the interface, and once withdrawal. And I could also do it with raws if I don't have any raws in this case, but I could grab random things with the raw resource. And then all I'm doing on the finish is to disable the button. So that was my Yahtzee example, just another example, nothing new on the timer, just I wanted to, since I had a die, I was rolling a die, I figured I'd go back and roll 5 dice to review something. Okay. Now I'll bring down this file, and Canvas doesn't like this. I think because I have a zip and a zip or something. It was yelling at me before. But you can not discard it, but keep it. Probably have to re-zip it or something. So I have, yes. I have this array that's global. Did I do anything with it? Oh, I did. I set it here and I set it here. So I'm, yeah, say again. I'm not redeclaring it, but I'm giving it a new value. Before when I had just the one, I had a little local variable here, and I decided to just work directly with the global. So before, when I had one die, only when I was done did I update the global variable. So I had all the little ticking events, and they didn't bother the global. And then when I was done, I set the global variable. Here, I'm setting the global variables sort of all along. I could have an array here, sort of an array that's known to the timer, and only update the global on the finish. I could have taken a similar approach, but I for whatever reason, I chose not to. Right? I don't know if I answered the question. Okay. Okay. So Jack in the Box, just marry a timer and a zoom page width and make it big. Okay. So not much in the way of it. So you're going to have an image. What's in this? I have the zip within the zip. I have 2 JPEGs, or not JPEGs, I have PNGs. I have 2 image files. I have a Jack in the Box that the Jack is inside the box, and I have the Jack out of the box. And I have 2 music files. You only need 1. I like the slow one because I don't know, it's weird and creepy. And it plays some song. And then there's a part in the song where the jack comes out of the box. Like there. So about 10 to 11 seconds in is where the jack comes out of the box. Okay. So what you'll have is you'll start with the closed image. So they'll click the button. You'll make the image, in case it was anything before, make the image closed. And start playing the song. So start a media player and start a timer. You're not really doing anything repeating with the timer, so you can leave the tick alone. But you'll do something with the onFinish, and at about 11 seconds in, you will change the image to the jack out of the box image. So when they click the button, you make the jack, the closed image appear, or whatever image you had, you would start with the, move it to the closed, start playing the media player, play the song. Then when it's done, or sorry, about 11 seconds in, so this is a separate timer thing. So the button starts a media player and a timer. And then when the timer's done, about 11 seconds in, then you're going to change the image. And when the media player is done, you should probably disable the button, because we don't want multiple media players and we don't want multiple timers. So when the media player is done, that takes a little bit longer. When that's done, then sort of re-enable the button. So some buttons, button, some media player, some counting down, not really a repetitive part of the timer, but just a more unfinished part. So that is the lab for the day. Questions on what you're supposed to do? No, I will stop recording and hang out for questions.